foul. I know he's not for Jordan.
And that earns him the technical. Hey, that's a foul. I don't care if he is Michael Jordan now.
A referee's whistle. A crowd noise of 24,000 people at the United Center. And Charles Barkley, 35 points, 14 rebounds, carrying a short-handed Houston Rockets team on his back, is walking toward an official with something to say. You used to be a good official, but now it is terrible. It is embarrassing for guys to miss calls like this. The technical foul is immediate. And Michael Jordan, who admitted after the game he deliberately baited Barkley into it, is standing 10 feet away, watching, already satisfied. January 18th, 1998, the United Center, Chicago. This is what happens when the most competitive player alive decides to use the rulebook as a weapon. About what it actually meant to compete against Michael Jordan. Not the basketball part, the psychological part. Because what happened in Chicago that Sunday wasn't just a great game. Before we get to what happened, you need to understand something about Charles Barkley. Chuck has been fighting for respect from officials his entire career. Not because he is a dirty player, he is not, but because he is built like a wrecking ball and plays like one, and in a league that rewards elegance, that has always cost him calls. In Philadelphia, in Phoenix, and now in Houston, his relationship with referees has been the same. Volcanic, personal, and completely unfiltered. His former teammate Jason Williams, who played with alongside him Philly, once said that playing with Barkley's escapades lasted about 2 years to recover from. Williams meant it affectionately. That is the thing about Chuck. His outrage is never fake. When he tells a referee that a call is wrong, he means it. He is not performing, he is not working the crowd. He is genuinely cannot understand how the man with the whistle is seeing something different from what he's seeing every single time. But on this January afternoon in 1998, there's more fuel in the fire than usual because the Rockets are falling apart. The team Barkley joined 1 year earlier had been built to win right now. Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, 3 Hall of Famers on the same roster. The NBA's attempt to manufacture a dynasty in Houston before the window closed. It wasn't working. Olajuwon was out with a knee injury, Drexler was out with a shoulder, and the Barkley-Drexler relationship had gone so publicly sideways that Barkley had already named his own team Team Turmoil. Drexler in response said that if Barkley put as much effort into playing basketball as he did into running his mouth, they'd be a lot better off. Magic Johnson, who happened to be in Houston that very week, looked at the situation and delivered the clearest verdict anyone had given all season. He said the only thing that could save this team was a closed-door meeting where everyone asked themselves one question: do we want to win? Or do we want to sit here and be divided and go in the first round and get beat? So when Charles Barkley took the floor at the United Center on a nationally televised NBC Sunday afternoon, without Hakeem, without Clyde, with Mario Elie getting elbowed in the shoulder in the second quarter and done for the day, he was essentially a one-man army. And one-man armies, when they feel like the refs are working against them, to have a tendency to explode. Even when the Rockets were fully healthy, even when it was Hakeem and Drexler and Barkley all on the floor together, they were still fighting an uphill battle every time they played Chicago. And there's Michael Jordan. By January 1998, Jordan was so thoroughly embedded in the mythology of this league that entire officiating crews had unconsciously adjusted their calls around his presence. Not a conspiracy, not a memo, just a slow, gravitational pull of greatness on the human judgment. The man had won 5 championships, he was averaging 29 points a game at age 34, every close call that went his way felt earned. Every whistle that stayed silent when he drove felt like the right decision. Scottie Pippen, in his pre-game comments, had put it plainly: We know Barkley is capable of taking over a ball game. We have to take this team out of the game early and not give them any hope. Even Jordan's own coach, Phil Jackson, had started publicly complaining that fourth quarters had devolved into a free throw parade. Jackson said he'd be happy not to be coaching next year. In the fourth quarter, guys are backing the ball to the basket, getting fouled, and going to the free throw line. It makes for a never-ending game. When the winning coach is complaining about the foul calls, you know something has shifted. But Jordan had one more card to play, and he knew exactly when to play it. The Bulls and Rockets had come out of the gate in a genuinely competitive game. Both teams hit their first 5 shots. Jordan was already cooking, 16 points in the first quarter alone, but the Rockets were hanging in. Then midway through the second quarter, Charles Barkley drove on Jordan, contact, a foul, or what Barkley absolutely believed was a foul, no whistle. And Charles Barkley cannot let that go. He walked toward the ref and he started talking, and the more he talked, the more specific he got. He invoked Jordan's name. He started making his case. That was a foul on Michael. The play before that they did not call. You used to be a good official, but now it's terrible. It is embarrassing for guys to miss calls like this. They try and make up for it with a technical. Here's what you need to know about that moment. Jordan was watching the whole thing, and after the game, he admitted without blinking that he deliberately prodded Barkley into getting that technical. He saw Chuck's temperature rising and kept the pressure on until the whistle came. And then, and this is peak Jordan, he let 7-foot backup Joe Klein walk to the free throw line to shoot the technical. Jordan didn't need the point, he needed to send a message. I just made you cost your team without even touching you. The fourth quarter came, and with it, the moment that broke Houston's back. The Rockets had clawed all the way back from down 16 in the third quarter, Barkley dragging them by sheer will. They were within 3 points. The United Center was nervous, and then Barkley drove the baseline against Luke Longley, offensive foul. Replays showed Longley's hands on Barkley's arm. What most people in the building would call a hand check, the refs saw it differently. Tomjanovic's staff watched the video on the bench and said nothing, because what do you say? We didn't get a break in that area. There were a few controversial calls. Kevin getting pushed out of bounds on his layup was one. Charles' offensive foul was another. It was frustrating from that point not to get the calls. The Rockets never got closer than 4 after that. Jordan finished with 45. Barkley had 35 points and 14 rebounds and single-handedly out-rebounded Dennis Rodman, the league's leading rebounder, by a margin of 14-5. He did everything right. Final score: Bulls 106, Rockets 100. Jordan could have shot that technical free throw himself, but he didn't. He looked down to the bench, pointed at Joe Klein, and basically said, "You shoot it," because the point was never the point. The point was the message. I just got inside your head. I just caused you a possession, and I didn't have to try. That is the level of psychological chess Jordan was playing. In the locker room after the game, Barkley was characteristically both furious and funny. He explained the technical without a hint of regret. I was telling the refs to call a foul on Michael. All they want to do is kiss his butt. I went by him once and told him, "You are an old man." He is 2 days older than me. Jordan, meanwhile, gave one of the most revealing post-game quotes of the entire season. Not about the game, about them. About what this rivalry actually meant. Charles with his mouth shut isn't Charles. That is like me playing with hair. And then the line that explains everything about Michael Jordan. We are friends, but I don't feel sorry for him at all. One of us has to lose. I would rather it be him. That is the Pat Riley mentality that Jordan had fully internalized. You cannot be friends with a guy and still compete with him. Except Jordan had broken that rule with Barkley. He was genuinely fond of Chuck, and he competed against him anyway with everything he had. Those two things existed in Jordan without contradiction. Barkley understood this and actually agreed with it. Anytime I play against a great friend of mine, whether it's Michael or Karl Malone or Patrick Ewing, it is always a great game that never took away our goal, which was to win the ball game. But the refs, that was different. That wasn't competition, that was a pattern, and Barkley had seen enough of it to know the pattern had a name, it had a face, and that face had a whistle. Even Phil Jackson, the man who won the game, was on the record saying the fourth quarter foul parade made the game uncoachable. The winning coach said that out loud to reporters. Scottie Pippen said it best, almost by accident, in a pre-game quote that turned out to be prophecy. Charles is going to come in here and try to be the bully. He realizes this is a nationally televised game. We had to try and keep him in his place. Keep him in his place. Think about what that phrase means in the context of Charles Barkley's entire career. A man who was never given a team good enough to win a championship. A man whose best season, that 1993 MVP, that magical Suns run, ended with Michael Jordan standing between him and everything he'd ever wanted. A man who, even now, in Houston, in the fourth quarter of his career, was being told by the whistle, by the rules, by the way certain calls were made, that there was a place for Charles Barkley, and it was slightly below the top. I know he's Michael Jordan, but it is a damn foul. He was right, it didn't matter. And Michael Jordan, walking off the floor with 45 points, already thinking about the next game, understood something Barkley never fully accepted. In the NBA, being right and being the best aren't always the same thing. That is the age difference between Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley. 2 days. They came into this league at basically the same moment. They came of age at the same time. They competed against each other for 15 years, and for 15 years, Barkley never got what Jordan had. Not the rings, not the calls, not the benefit of the doubt. And what kills me, what I keep coming back to every time I cover this era, is that Barkley never stopped competing. He never stopped showing up and going for 35 and 14 and getting into it with the refs and talking and fighting and refusing to just accept his place in the hierarchy. That stubbornness is why we are still talking about him. That is the whole thing.